Hi all, this is Kevin Bernatz with another video on Cataclysm. This time we're going to go over combat, and I think the best way is to just run an example. So in this particular case, we have, let's say Germany is going to, I have a flag drawn here, so let's say Germany gets a flag from the cup. One of the actions they could do on a flag draw pack is to attempt to do a maneuver. So in this case, they're going to roll their effectiveness, which for Germany is 3. You scroll down, their effectiveness over here is 3. And so they're going to roll their effectiveness and try to get at least 1/5 to do their maneuver. In this case, I don't know how well you can see that, but 2, 3, 5, so they were successful. And so with their maneuver, they're going to attack Poland. The way to do that is they move in a land unit. And then if Poland was controlled, in this case it has French control, so there's French planes. There are French units that are at war with Germany they could support, but there's no French planes around. And now the Germans can fly in supporting air. So they're basically going to come in with a tank army and a aircraft against the lone Polish army. And so if we look over at the pack, blow this up. And so combat is, again, so they commit all supporting units, trace supply. Well, in our case, Germany's right next to their home country, so there's no supply issue. If they both had air, then there would be an air combat. And then we resolve the land combat. So for land combat, base number of dice, 2 dice, if you have at least 1 army. So both Poland and Germany have at least 1 army, so they're both going to start with 2 dice. Now, +1 die when defending with foreign aid, that doesn't apply, or is superiority in the number of air units. So Germany has 1 air unit to 0 for Poland, so they have superiority in the number of air units. So Germany is going to add a die, so they're now at 3 dice. The side will lose a die if your opponent has superiority in the number of tank armies. So again, 1 tank army to 0, so Germany has superiority. So Poland is going to lose 1 die, so it's going to be 3 dice to 1. There are no DRMs, it's not a sneak attack, no land units are out of supply, there's no augmentation or fortress or terrain benefits. And so we're basically looking at 3 dice versus 1. So I'll roll Germany first. A 1, a 4, and a 6. So remember with Cataclysm, we always take the highest roll. So Germany has rolled a 6 for their combat. Poland rolls a 2. So 6 versus 2. That's actually a multiple, and that's how Cataclysm determines losses. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. So Poland has to lose 3 units. Well, obviously Poland can only lose 1. So if you're ever in a situation where you're losing more units than you have, it's called a triumph. And a triumph and a disaster. So for Poland, they suffer a disaster because they lost more units than they are able to handle. If this was a major power, they would have to make a stability test. Germany, because they inflicted more losses than Poland could handle, they gain a triumph. As a triumph, they gain a flag if they have one available, and they do. So Germany could put the flag in reserve, but that would bump their offensive, so they don't want to do that. So they will send it to the Action Cup. Now, there are political ramifications to this attack. Because Poland is controlled by France, and France has an alliance with UK, both France and the UK gain a flag. France gains a flag, and the United Kingdom gains a flag. And since they have nothing in reserve, they will place these flags in reserve. The French control cube is removed and replaced with a German control cube. Germany then has the option of leaving their units in Poland or returning them to an adjacent area. In this particular case, let's leave them in Poland. And I should say that the Soviet Union is controlled by an active player. And this is a two-player game where the Soviet Union is not actively controlled by a player. But if the Soviet Union is controlled by a player, they would also gain a flag because they have interest in the adjacent land area. So remember, each area of a power gives interest in all adjacent areas. And so either Ukraine or Belarus gives Russia interest in Poland, and so the Soviet Union would also gain a flag. And again, if they have nothing in reserve, they would put the flag in reserve. So Germany's flag play is done, so the drawn chit goes back to their available flag pool. Now before drawing another counter from the Action Cup, let's have the UK decide to trump. And so they're going on a sequence and they're basically playing their flag to attempt to declare war on Germany. So UK has effectiveness of 3. I don't know if you can see it here. Start mobilization. Their effectiveness is 3. So the UK will roll 3 dice to attempt to declare war on Germany. 3, 4, 4. So actually they failed. So they failed to declare war on Germany. And so what happens is they would get a cube that goes in the declaration of war box since they failed to declare war. France would love to trump at this point, but because a democracy just had the last action, they cannot do so. So in this particular case, we're going to have Germany trump with their offensive. What they will do is, with their first offensive, they will gain a number of military actions based on their conversion ratio. So their conversion ratio is 1 to 2. So for one offensive, they would get 2 operations or 2 military actions for what Germany will do. So with their first operation, they're going to attack Belgium. So they're moving 2 armies. Belgium's currently not aligned or controlled by anyone, and so there's no support for Belgium. And then Germany will fly in both air units. So this is going to play out much like Poland. Looking at the pack, we have both sides have 1 army. So they both start with 2 dice. The Germans have air superiority, so they're going to add a die, so they go up to 3 dice. And Belgium has inferiority in tank armies, so they're going to lose a dice. So it goes back to 3 dice for Germany, 1 die for Belgium. Again, we'll roll Germany first. Germany again gets a 6, and Belgium gets a 1. So yet another disaster. So in this particular case, we remove that army. Germany would gain another flag. So the reserve is empty. So Germany will actually put this flag in reserve. I'll note that France and England both have influence into Belgium, and so they would both gain flags. They currently, England doesn't have one in reserve anymore, so England will put a flag in reserve. France will have to send their flag to the Action Cup. And note that France has no more flags available, so any other provocations actually won't gain any flags for France. And this particular case, with the second action that Germany has, they're going to go all out. I don't necessarily recommend that this is a smart play by Germany, but they're going to declare war with a sneak attack and attack Paris. So, sneak attack again, it would generate 2 flags for France, but France has no flags available. However, the UK is aligned with France, so the UK would gain 2 more flags. Again, they already have a flag in reserve, so both these will go into the Action Cup. And we would also now mark that there is a war between Germany and France. The UK will honor its defensive alliance with France. So again, that generates another UK flag as they're honoring an alliance. And Italy has a choice. Italy is aligned with Germany, and they could either honor their partner's attack on France and keep the alliance and go to war with the UK and France, or back out. But if they back out, then they lose the alliance. So in this particular case, we will say that Italy will indeed honor their alliance. Now, it's not a defensive alliance because Germany is the one declaring war, so Italy will not gain a flag for this. Status quo was previously removed, so I'm going to remove that. And then we stack all 4 cubes together to show that there is one war here. It is not in the ceasefire because there has been an attack. So there is one active war between Germany and Italy versus France and the UK. So we resolved the flags, and now let's resolve the combat. So in this particular case, we have the Germans coming in, and now both sides fly support. We're going to have the UK fly an air in, and France fly an air in. Now stacking is at most 2 air units per side in an area, so even though France and the UK have additional air in the area, they can't actually utilize them. Germany will fly in their 2 air units. Going back to the pack, let's see, after all support units have been committed, actually I did that backwards, Germany should have flown theirs first. We then resolve supply, so we put the German control cube in Belgium, since they did indeed gain control of it. So Germany traces supply through Belgium into the Ruhr into Berlin, so there's no supply issues. And obviously the French are in supply in Paris, and because they're allied, the UK can draw supply from Paris as well. So then, resolving the combat. First, you always resolve air combat. If each side has at least 1 air force, they will roll 2 dice. There's no die roll modifiers. Now, DRMs. Surprise due to a sneak attack. So that's going to apply to the Allied side, democracies. No air is operating at extended range, and there's no augmentation. So both sides will roll 2 dice. The Allies will have a -1 DRM. So let's roll Germany first. Germany rolls a 2 and a 3, and the Allies roll a 2 and a 2. So in this particular case, the final results are 3 to 1. So again, as we said in Cataclysm, ratios matter, multiples matter. So the Allies actually are going to suffer 3 losses. Well, they can't do that. They only have 2. Both these air units will be destroyed. Now in air, there's no triumph and disasters. That's only in land combats and naval combats. So the effect will be that the Allies lose both of their air units. Both German air units are still alive. And now we move to the land combat phase. So again, both sides have at least 1 army, so they're both rolling 2 dice. Germany has superiority in air units after the air combat, so they're going to roll 3 dice. And France has 2 armies, but they don't have any tank armies. So France is going to lose a die because Germany has superiority in tank armies. So right now we're looking at 3 dice to 1 die. But we also have to factor in the sneak attack. So in addition to everything else, France is going to lose a DRM of apply a DRM of -1 to their result. Supply is not an issue, there's no augmentation, there's not a fortress in the area, and there are no terrain benefits for Paris. Paris is an open terrain area. So the net effect is Germany rolls 3 dice, France rolls 1 die and applies a -1 DRM. So let's see what happens. Wow. Germany just rolled an 8. So you have 6 as the highest roll, and then for each additional 6, they add a +1. The highest roll you can actually roll in Cataclysm. So I'm kind of amused that, I wish there was a way to have made vassal work out perfectly, and well, maybe we'll have it work out well as it is. So Germany has an 8, and France is going to roll 1 die with a -1. So vassal decided it's going to have a string of 6s rolled. So 6 minus 1 is 5. So 8 to 5, that means there is 1 loss associated to France, because 5 basically goes into 8 once. France could retreat, take their loss as a retreat instead of losing their armies, but they would lose Paris. So instead what they will do is take just 1 loss, and then because they still have a unit in the area, Germany does not gain control of the area, and they must return back to an adjacent area. In this case, the only one they could go to is Low Countries. So France dodges a bullet, despite the best possible roll that Germany managed, and then a -1 DRM against France because the sneak attack. France rolled well enough that they survived and will go on to fight another day. And that's basic combat.